Butch Lahmann from Long Island, New York, and I was in the warehouse distribution business for about 45 years, and retail, warehouse distribution and retail for about 45 years, and now semi-retired. Got into this business for a couple of reasons, but the major reason that I got into this business is because I wanted to get parts for my own racing, exploits. And then, so I developed a business card and filed a business name and started to buy wholesale from, I think my first source was Don Speed Shop in Edison, New Jersey, in about 1960. And then what happened was that I had a number of friends who I associated with that were also street racers, and they wanted me to get parts for their cars, and so it kind of went on from there. I actually started the business called Suffolk Speed Shop, which is just a retail speed shop in 1960, and I was 19 years old, actually 18, and then turned 19 after I started the business. And Suffolk Speed Shop was actually originally my mom's candy store attached to our house. And my mom was not doing well with the candy store business, and so I convinced her to let me use the candy store for a speed shop. It was, the size of that store was about 500 square feet. And it was attached to the house that I lived in. And my mom and dad had a fuel oil business, fuel oil and kerosene and gasoline and propane gas business, which I had worked for before I started, actually worked for before and during the beginning of starting my business. And the speed shop business started to grow and grow, and eventually I took over my father's barn behind the house that we lived in. It was 1,600 square feet, and started to buy merchandise direct from manufacturers. And it grew from there. We at one point had about 20 retail store locations. Some of them were franchised, some of them were company owned. And we grew into multiple warehouse locations, and of course we graduated from that small initial location to more industrial stores and businesses and locations. Well, the interesting thing about our industry, as I look back on it, is that the industry itself was comprised of lots of entrepreneurial manufacturers. And the manufacturers themselves really, I feel, did a lot did the bulk of the creativity to get through those tough times. They would keep coming out with new products. They would keep coming out with just better mousetraps. And we found that the only time that we can remember, that I can remember, where our business actually went flat was during the time when there were long gas lines to get at the pumps, and that was a hurt. But other than that, every year we were in business, we had an increase. When we started buying products direct, we would try to negotiate the best deal we could, and sometimes we would have to buy a truckload of products. And it was a small operation. There was 2 or 3 of us, and a very small building, whatever. And sometimes the building wouldn't hold the product. We just literally didn't have room inside the building for the product. Now, as you know, in New York, we have winter weather. So many times we would have to get a truckload of wheels and stack the wheels on pallets and cover it with a tarp. And then we had a dog. We tied a dog up on a chain near the wheels for security. So that's how we secured, that was our security system. It was interesting because sometimes we'd come and we'd find, you know, we'd find that the dog had actually, you know, bit some clothing on somebody, and the part of the clothing was laying on the ground by the wheels. It was an interesting kind of security system we had, but we needed to do it. You know, we needed to do it because we had to buy the wheels at the right price. And sometimes we would buy those wheels, and then we'd split them up amongst the other 4 or 5 guys that were buying with us. But that might take a week, you know. So, and we didn't have room to put them in the small barn that we had. So. We had to do that. It was a wood barn. It was built in the early 1900s. It was a tinderbox. And on top of that, my father and mother had a small business which was delivering fuel oil and kerosene to the local Huntington area. And they had 2 or 3 trucks. And they had storage tanks, underground storage tanks in our driveway. You know, the property we lived on was maybe an acre, 1 acre. And this barn was at the back of it, and our house was on the side, and there was a driveway, and there was filling, like a filling station to fill the trucks with the product that was in the tanks in the ground. So all of this area was used for that kind of business since before World War II. And the ground was soaked with kerosene and fuel oil and whatever over the years. You can't avoid it, you know. Once in a while you'll spill a little of this and spill a little of that. And so it was really, I mean, if our insurance company that was insuring our inventory ever knew what the conditions were like, we never would have got fire insurance. In fact, for the first couple of years, we couldn't get it. And in this barn was a wooden floor. And the wooden floor was old. And there was a couple of pits that they used to repair the trucks in years and years and years ago, where they would go down, walk down into a pit and then get under the vehicle and work on it. And those pits had, you know, a lot of oil and stuff in them. And so we had a furnace, an oil burner, sitting in this barn in the back. And one day, the floor started on fire. Now you can imagine what could have happened, you know. And I was across the street at the little diner getting a sandwich, and came back from getting my sandwich, and I got run over by like 3 employees running out of the warehouse, and I could smell the smoke, you know. So I went in and got a fire extinguisher and put the fire out. But you know, and I didn't blame anybody else for running away, because if it wasn't my business, I would have run away too. But those kind of things, you know, are just things that happen, and you don't know why you do them, but you do them, and you make it happen, you know.